There are more than 12,000 people out on parole or probation in Arkansas that the state doesn't know where they are. It's a startling number as crime remains a top concern in our area.
So, how did this happen? And what's being done to fix it? Well, tonight, TV11's Rolly Hoyt brings us what he found.
I was surprised. I was surprised that the numbers were that big. That scares you because you know there's going to be a number of those that you anticipate may very well reoffend.
That's the reaction of Will Jones, the prosecutor in Jefferson County, who will soon move up I-530 after winning the election to become the top prosecutor in Pulaski and Perry counties. He spent years putting people in prison. He won the job by promising to put even more criminals behind bars.
We're going to hold people accountable and that there are consequences for these types of actions.
Those consequences can include prison time, but that faces a problem here in Arkansas. The prisons are already full.
We're trying to increase the capacity in different ways to relieve that backup in our county jails.
Arkansas law mandates that when the prisons get overcrowded, the parole board has to authorize emergency early releases. The parole board maintains a list of inmates who could qualify. And amid a crime surge, the thought of releasing criminals early seems dangerous. But so far, the parole board's been able to defend their releases. We know this because we requested the lists of those inmates eligible for release through the Emergency Powers Act in the past year. Our checking to see how many got in trouble is encouraging, with a significant number prevented from being released because the parole board had questions. We then found the state's publicly available online listing of absconders. These are people, according to the definition of the search page, who stopped making contact with parole or probation officers. Law enforcement is asking for help finding them. The entire list has more than 12,700 names. We asked for someone from the DOC to explain how can there be more than 12,000 outlaws out there. We reached out multiple times, even going to a commission teleconference meeting.
Again, any other questions or comments?
But no one would sit down with us. But once word got out we planned to air this story, the topic came up in Thursday's annual budget hearings before lawmakers.
Essentially, what is the department's view on that? How concerning is it? And is it going in the right direction or the wrong direction?
We are constantly working to re-engage those offenders on active supervision.
To answer your question, sir, take that number very seriously.
The DOC did share with us details of what goes into that large number and explained to lawmakers plans to tackle it. First, the numbers. There are people still listed years, even decades past when the parole board would have last had to make contact. The agency says that's partially because Arkansas is strict about calling someone out of contact an absconder right away and keeping them there forever until they do. The list also lumps together parolees and probation violators. 2/3 of the names are the latter, and probation is usually used for less serious crimes. Corrections Secretary Solomon Graves says they need a facility to handle those low-level technical violators.
We are currently now finalizing plans to renovate the former White River Juvenile Detention Facility, which we purchased last year.
They expect to run about 700 offenders through there a year. But the list also includes people with violent offenses listed as their most serious crimes: first and second degree battery, sexual assault, domestic violence. There's been a major effort this year in Central Arkansas with the Intensive Supervision Program.
By putting 14 additional officers out on the street, specially trained, engaging in a caseload that is high risk.
According to figures provided by the DOC, that group arrested 34 parolees and 24 people on probation from July to September. It's led to 59 charges for warrant violations or absconding. But while these arrests take some offenders off the street, it barely dents the sheer size of the overall list, something that weighs in the mind of the incoming prosecutor to the state's largest urban area.
You know, I can't tell you how many times I wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you think about that, and it takes a little while to get back to sleep. And so it's a daunting task to come into that environment with crime so high, and it concerns me for sure.
In Pine Bluff, Rolly Hoyt, THV 11 News.